In the last video, we allowed our star component to receive data from an outside source, and we did that by exposing the rating property. So we did that with @input, and so we exposed rating. We allowed an outside source to give us data. Now we have to do the opposite, where we're going to allow ourselves to send out data to whoever it is that is utilizing this component. So in other words, here's where we're headed with that. So even though this doesn't make a whole lot of sense as far as what's the practicality, it's just to demonstrate how it works. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on, so when the user clicks on the stars, in this case it's 3.2 and here it's 4.2, what we want to do ultimately in this case is we want the star component to send data out to the parent component. And so what we'll do is we'll have it, maybe instead of Acme product management, we'll say how many stars got clicked. So remember, Acme product management is tied to page title. So we are going to create a click event. So when the user clicks on these stars, the child is going to, or in this case it's a child, but the star component therefore is going to send data out to whoever is utilizing it for whatever their purposes are. Whew. All right, so here's how we're going to make that happen. All right, so the first thing we need to do is I'm going to pull up the star component HTML, and the idea was that we need to create a click event that's going to do something. So we're going to start with that. So let's see, we'll do it on the div. So we're going to create a click event inside of the closing angle bracket, and we're going to create a click, and on click we're going to say star clicked or something like that. Okay, so that'll be a function that we need to create in our star component.ts. So that's just a function within the component. So that's pretty easy to work with at this point. So in our class then, we're going to create a function called star clicked, and it receives nothing and it sends out nothing, and there we go. All right, so just to make this simple for now, let's do this. Let's do a console log. Let's console log this dot rating, because we should have access to the rating of that particular component. Because remember, each time we create a new component, each time we create a new line of stars, it's a unique component, so it should know its own rating. So let's see if that works. Let me find my browser and pull that back over. And so now I'm going to open up my console.log. Okay, my log console, there we go. And so now when I click on an event, I should see, yep, when I click event, so I'm seeing the rating of that particular star. Okay, so now what we have to do is we have to notify whoever is interested. In other words, this product HTML has stars, wants to utilize the information that star is sharing. So we need to do something along those lines so that our star component can send data to, in this case, our parent component. So let's see how that works. All right, so looking back at our star component, what we're going to do is similar to how when we wanted to receive data, we used @input, which was tied to on changes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do an output, which is tied to emitting is what we're end up doing, but sending out to whoever's interested. We want to send you some data, whoever it is that's listening to our cries or who wants to receive our data. In our case, the product list needs to receive our data when we click on those stars. And so we're going to do output parenthesis, and I was getting a let's see. Okay. Oh, it already did it automatically. So I was expecting, anyway, it doesn't matter. You need to make sure that just like we had input coming in from Angular Core, that we also have output that we're importing from Angular Core in order to utilize this output. All right, so output, and what we need to do for an output is I'm going to create something called, right now I'm going to call it rating clicked, and this will mean something in a minute. So rating clicked, let me just write all the fancy stuff down so then I can explain what it is. I'm going to create an event emitter. And be careful when you use event emitter and you use this auto import that you're auto importing from this fourth one down, which I can't show you with my IntelliSense, but when I click on event emitter on the fourth one down here, it needs to be, and it didn't do it, it needs to be from Angular Core, meaning that there's 4 different event emitters, and since it didn't do it automatically, I'm going to put it in here, event emitter. So you need to make sure that your event emitter is coming from the library Angular Core in order to make this work. So I'm going to use event emitter, and I have to put this angle bracket string. And if you're familiar with generics, that's what string is. If you're not familiar with generics, all you need to know for the moment is that the event emitter is going to utilize a string. It's going to manage a string, and I'm going to put this all together in a moment. So let me just finish out this line, and then I'll see if I can summarize what's going on here. New event emitter, and parentheses and semicolon. That should work, and successfully compiled. All right, so let me explain what we're doing here. All right, back to input. Remember, input at input receives information, and it utilizes on changes to act. Okay. At output is sending data out to whoever needs the data, and it's going to do it as an event. So we're kind of creating a custom event here, and we're calling that custom event rating clicked. In other words, when somebody clicks on the mouse, that's a click event. When we fire off this output rating clicked, we're creating an event called rating.clicked. Let me finish this off here by doing this. So let me say this.rating .emit, and then we'll say, we'll just put in this.rating. Okay, so here's what's happening. When the user clicks on the stars, that's going to fire this click event. And we want to create an event, fire off an event that I'm calling rating clicked. Okay, so I think this should be rating clicked. So I did this wrong. Rating clicked. There we go. That makes sense. Okay, so I want to fire off this event that I've created called rating clicked. So sorry about that, because this rating I got myself confused. It's easy to do. So let me start again. The user clicks on the stars and this function gets fired. Because I've created this event, this custom event called rating clicked, when the user clicks on those stars, I want to fire off that event that I've called creating rating clicked. And when I do that, I'm going to emit something which has got an underlining at the moment. And the idea was that we want to create that rating. But remember I said that this event emitter has to be a string, and this is currently a number. So let's make this a string. My rating is, and maybe we can do something like that. So now I've gotten rid of my underline. So here's what's happening. User clicks on the stars, star clicks fires, which is going to create an event, which we're going to call rating clicked. That's going to emit this string. In other words, rating clicked is event, and then a string is created, not called rating, called rating. My rating is, there we go. All right, and so here's the other end of that. All right, so a event is created called rating clicked. So now we're going to come into our PM star here, and we're going to say, just like we would with the normal click event, we're going to say rating clicked equals, and then something. Okay, so when this rating.click event fires, whoever is listening, so in other words, just similar to an on-click, I am the parent, I am listening for a rating click to be fired. Well, we admitted it here. So this rating click got fired and this string was sent out. So similar to an on-click event in the product component, when rating is clicked, I'm going to have to run a function, right? Just like on a click event, you run a function. On a rating clicked event, we need to run a function here in the product, and we'll call it GetClicked, for lack of a better word. Okay, so that means I'm going to have to create this function called GetClicked in my component. So let me do that real quick. Let me pull out, in this area, I need to pull out my product component. There we go. And I need to create a function called GetClicked. Okay. It's going to return a void. It's not returning anything. And here's the thing, though. Okay, so let's finish this idea. I know this is kind of confusing. Hopefully this will bring it all together. So when this event happened, a string was sent out that contained some data. So on this click event, when the parent hears that click event got fired, it needs to get that message that was sent on the emit. So there's this special keyword called $event. And so this function is receiving whatever got emitted. In our case, a string was emitted. So to reiterate, when the user clicks on the stars, this function fires, and this event gets fired off, and the string gets sent as part of that event. This directive is listening for that event to fire, and it's going to run a function called GetClicked. This special keyword is receiving the string that got sent and sending that to our GetClicked function. So I have to catch it as an argument, which is going to be a string. And so now I can take that string and I can change. Let's look back at our original very beginning here. We have a property called page title, which is what's showing that Acme management. So I'm going to change page title to that message that got emitted. So I'm going to change this .page title to the new message. That's a lot of work, understandably, but that's what's happening. So one more time and then we'll see it in the browser. The user clicked on the stars, which triggered an event. When the event was triggered, a string was sent as part of that event. The parent who has utilized the directive of PM star is waiting for that event to fire. And when that event fires, it's going to run its own method or function called GetClicked. And it's going to receive that special event message via $event, which is going to be sent into our product components class. We created GetClicked. It's going to receive that message, and so therefore our page title is going to receive that which originally the child component emitted. So if I can find my browser, let's see if that works. So now I'm in my browser and make sure I refresh. I'm pretty sure it's refreshed, but just to be sure, I'm going to click on these buttons. My rating is 3.2, 3.2. My rating should be 4.8, and in fact, that's what's happening. So now we have successfully sent data from our star component to whoever is utilizing that component in its own directive.